thank the gentlelady for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
First, Mr. Speaker, let me thank the staff on the Rules Committee, both the majority and the minority staff, because they put up with an awful lot. The way this House is being run, the process and procedures are absolutely awful. Mr. Speaker, I would say that this is a clown show, but that would be an insult to actual working clowns who probably lost their health care in the big ugly bill that Republicans passed, but whatever. This is not the way this House of Representatives should be run. You know, out of the 4 appropriation bills before us, only one, the defense bill, was given an amendment process where the majority issued a call for amendments. Overall, 9 out of the 12 appropriation bills this cycle did not receive any call for amendments. In other words, nobody was asked to offer amendments to participate in this process. They were told that their views and their opinions didn't matter. Last week, Republicans made an order 2 out of 78 amendments submitted to the 2-bill minibus that we considered. Again, neither of those amendments had a call for amendments prior. The week before, Republicans made 0 amendments in order on a 3-bill minibus out of 40 submitted. Only one of those bills had an amendment process prior. And today, they are making 2 amendments in order, 2 in order, out of the 164 amendments submitted to the final appropriation bills before us. They were submitted by Democrats and by Republicans. So 99% of those amendments that were offered have been blocked. You know, Republicans went on last night about regular order, but they only solicited amendment ideas on 3 out of the 12 appropriation bills that fund our government. I mean, give me a break. This is not the way this place is supposed to be run. You know, and again, you know, I get it. You know, they're worried about pleasing the rebels within the Republican conference who always threaten to bring down a rule if they don't get what they want. So I assume that that's what happened by making 2 Republican amendments in order today. But here's another thing that I noticed in this bill. There is this creation of a ethanol domestic energy council. I mean, aimed at kind of buying off people from Iowa, I guess. And in the rule, it says this council will be appointed by the Speaker of the House to develop legislative solutions to address the crisis facing our nation's farmers and refiners. I asked in the Rules Committee, you know, will the Speaker only appoint Republicans? And the answer was, well, you can submit whatever you want to the Speaker. It's his decision, but we don't know. So I don't know whether this is a bipartisan council or just a partisan council. A question was asked in the Rules Committee, will it only be members of Congress on this council, or could members of industry or the energy companies be on this council? We were told we think it's just members of Congress, but we don't know. And, you know, I mean, like, I don't know, those are pretty relevant questions. And this is kind of being tossed in here essentially to, you know, to buy people's votes. And here's the deal. To those Republicans who are being bought off by this creation of this new council, let me recall back in September when we were having a debate on whether to kind of extend the pause on Trump's terrible tariffs. All of a sudden, we were told that, you know, that we had to pause the vote. We went on and on and on for a while, waiting and waiting and waiting. And then we were told that there would be a special trade working group established. And the press reported that Congressman Adrian Smith, who's the head of the Ways and Means Trade Subcommittee, would be the head of that working group. And so they would address the issue of tariffs, and it would be a thoughtful process. Well, Mr. Smith was before the Rules Committee the other day, and I asked him about this trade working group that apparently bought off Republican votes, Republicans who were concerned about the tariffs. And I asked him, who were the members on this trade working group? And he said, oh, I talked to all members. I said, but who are the members on this trade working group? And he didn't have an answer, because you know why? They never appointed anybody to be on the trade working group. I asked him how many hearings and how many gatherings and meetings has this trade working group had? Couldn't answer that because they never had any meetings, any publications, any reports that have been produced by this trade working group, and he couldn't answer that because there were none. And so now we're being told, and now Republicans are being told, who are concerned about kind of the issue of ethanol, that, we're going to create this council for you. And so that, or this new working group for you, and you should be happy. And I'm just going to say this, with all due respect to my Republican colleagues, those of you who are bought off by this in order to vote for this rule, you know what, where I come from, we have a name for that. And that's cheap date, because that's what this is. At the end of the day, nothing will end up happening. And I'm just going to say one other thing before I get into the substance of these bills. When I was the chairman of the Rules Committee, I made nearly half of all amendments in order. This Republican majority has blocked 80%. That means Democrats, and by the way, and a lot of Republicans, a majority of Republican amendments have been blocked. Let me say that one more time. A majority of Republican amendments have been blocked. I don't know what's wrong with you guys over there, but I mean, come on. A majority of Republican amendments have been blocked, and you continue to go along to get along. So they're not just blocking us, they are blocking their own members. 106 closed rules so far in this Congress. 106 closed rules, more than Democrats had in the entire Congress the last time we were in charge. I mean, I know you have a slim majority, but here's another fact that you ought to let sink in. We've had the fewest votes on the floor, in 35 years. In 35 years. I mean, that's what this Congress is all about. And again, I would just say, as somebody who loves this institution, who believes in this institution, and I know many of my Republican colleagues feel the same way, I mean, things have to change. Things have to change. This place has become an institution where trivial issues get debated passionately and important ones not at all. All the issues that I hear about in my town halls, the high cost of health care, rising food prices, the high cost of utilities, we don't talk about those things here. We're dealing with messaging bills, and when it comes to anything of substance like these appropriation bills, we're basically told, take it or leave it. Your views don't matter. Again, not just Democrats, but Republicans as well. Mr. Speaker, again, I mean, I'm grateful to the hard work of the appropriators and their staff. These bills are complicated, the hours are brutal, and in this political climate, getting anything done, let alone in a bipartisan way, is no small thing. And while no bill is perfect, and I agree with the chairwoman, there are provisions in this package that would make a difference in people's lives, I think in some cases in a positive way. The 3-bill minibus, labor, HHS, education, defense, and transportation HUD rejects President Trump's proposed $163 billion in cuts. It continues funding for priorities like medical research and NIH, opioid response grants, child care, and Head Start. And it includes badly needed funding to hire more than 2,500 air traffic controllers. And Democrats blocked more than 40 poison pill riders that Republicans tried to jam in on reproductive care, vaccines, sanctuary cities, and more. So I want to thank Ranking Member DeLauro for holding the line and keeping that garbage out. But I want to talk about something bigger than the line items, because in my view, these bills are being written as if we're still operating under rules that, let's be honest, this current administration does not recognize. The president has shown over and over and over again that he won't follow the rules. He treats the law like a suggestion. He treats Congress like an obstacle, and he treats the Constitution like it's optional. So when we respond with business as usual, that isn't responsible. It's naive. If we don't build in real guardrails strong, enforceable guardrails, then we are not just funding programs. We're handing over power. We're writing checks and crossing our fingers that an administration that's proud of breaking the rules will suddenly decide to behave. And here's a perfect example. This three-bill minibus increases defense spending by more than $8 billion above the president's own budget request. Yet it does nothing to rein in this administration's recent illegal military actions around the world. Nothing that makes clear that Congress and not the president decides when America goes to war. And the same kind of blank check governing is also present in the Homeland Security bill. Let's not mince words. ICE is out of control. We are watching federal agents roll through communities like they're above the law, stopping people, harassing people, intimidating them, and yes, shooting them. That is not America. That is not freedom. And it sure as hell is not what our parents and our grandparents fought for. We have history in this country. We know exactly where show me your papers leads. We know what it looks like when a government decides that certain people don't belong and then builds an enforcement machine to terrorize them into submission. And yet here we are, being asked to hand DHS more money with nowhere near the due diligence or the ironclad accountability that this moment demands. Hell, Republicans already supercharged DHS with $75 billion in their big ugly bill last year. And now we're supposed to keep funding, now we're supposed to keep feeding the beast? I say hell no. I don't think ICE deserves a single cent more, which is why I am voting no. So I'll acknowledge the work that went into these bills. I'll acknowledge some provisions that could help people, but I do not trust this president, and I do not trust Trump's OMB, and I do not trust this administration, which has made lawlessness a habit to follow the intent of Congress just because we typed it into statutory language. You know, call it Trump derangement syndrome, as some of my Republican friends have labeled it. I call it learning from experience. I call it paying attention. So this is our last real leverage point. Once we fund it, once we sign the checks, the power shifts. And with this president, that's terrifying because he's erratic and lawless. We tried to put up guardrails, we offered amendments to rein him in, and the Republicans all voted them down, every single one of them. They voted against accountability, and they voted against constraints. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it tells you everything you need to know, Mr. Speaker. They'd rather give him a blank check than do their job as a co-equal branch. So I urge a no on this rule, and I reserve my time.